Hello, so it's me again. I'm at work and I was sitting here writing a list for someone about the things I did to relocate, and I figured might as well share them with you. The first thing that made me want to relocate is I felt like I was suffering. I felt like I was in a place where there was no more potential for me to be successful. I had exhausted all of my resources, and not to mention that some things had happened in my family, like my dad was murdered. And so I'm from a small city, and I felt like every day I would ride past that same spot and be reminded of what it is my family went through, and it just became a dead end for me. So I love my hometown. Shout out to York, Pennsylvania. However, there were some other opportunities that exist in the world that I needed to explore. So I explored them, but I didn't know where I was going to explore those options. I just knew I wanted to relocate, and I had no idea where that was going to be or what any other city looked like outside of attending college and visiting for parties in my younger days. So I had decided to pray. I'm a firm believer in signs and praying and fasting. So I believe that I prayed for about a week. After that, let me give you some more detail on that. I prayed for about a week straight. I pray every day, but I prayed specifically and asked God specifically for guidance and light and direction and purpose and fulfillment and a place that would allow me to have a peace of mind. I also fasted. I fasted for 7 days from dusk till dawn, and I prayed 3 times a day specifically for those goals. Oftentimes when we ask God for signs about something that's going on in our lives or something to help us make the right decision, but oftentimes our mind is too cloudy. We surround ourselves with the wrong people, and we're not doing the right things in order to see those signs clearly. So you have to be able to have a clear mind, which is why I fasted and prayed and did nothing else. Stayed in the house that week because I wanted to hear God's word, and I heard his word. So it's really crazy how it happened. I went to sleep, just getting off work. It was the summer. Teaching was getting ready to start. The school year was getting ready to start. So of course, teachers have their little trainings beforehand. And I took a nap. I prayed. I was starving because I was fasting, and I also had to go to this training. Thank God I was in the house the rest of the week. Didn't use much energy. But I took a nap after I prayed. And I kid you not, in this dream, I was driving on a road trip, and I seen a sign that said, "Welcome to Texas." And I woke up and I sat there for a minute, and I said, you know what? I think God is speaking to me. And I ran upstairs. I told my mom, because I had moved back in with my mother to save money. And I said, Mom, I'm moving to Texas. She was like, you're crazy. You're out your mind. That's so far away, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm really going to go for it. I went for it. I went for Texas. I planned, and everything has been beautiful ever since. I had this goal for myself for this year, and it was to obtain 4 sets of keys. That first key was a key to a new classroom, which I obtained. The second key was a key to a new car, one that I would enjoy paying for. Shouldn't have a car note if you're paying for a car you don't really love. And my third set of keys was keys to a new apartment. And my 4th set of keys were giving someone the keys to my heart. By the grace of God, I have received all 4 of those things this year, and I am thankful. So if you are looking for signs, or you're looking for some sort of message from God, clear your mind, heal yourself, listen to the word, read your Bible, read your scriptures, fast, pray, and let the Lord know that you are serious and you are willing to put in the work, because works without faith is dead. Nevertheless, let me share with you these details on how I relocated. So after praying and fasting, and I have some notes here because I don't want to leave anything out. After praying and fasting, and I had decided to move, I gave myself the school year to prepare. So the school year is about 9 months long. I had moved back in with my mother because I would save about $700 to $800 per month by staying at her house and helping her with her bills. And I think oftentimes as people of color, we feel like we have to move out immediately. That is something that we need to change in the Black community. Stop putting your kids out, allow them to come home, allow them to save, allow them to accumulate wealth, and it will potentially impact their kids and for generations to come. So anyways, my mother let me come back home with not as many bills to pay. I was able to save about $10,000 throughout that 9 months of the school year that I knew I was going to be moving. So I saved $10,000 at the end of June, and that's when I relocated. It wasn't that easy of a process. Month 1, which was August and September, once I decided I wanted to move, I started mapping out the city. Once I had that dream, I'm like, okay, Texas is where it's at. I'm going to select Houston because it seems to be thriving, and I wanted that big city experience just for a little while. And so I started mapping it out. What are the good parts of town? What are the bad parts of town? What is the crime like? What is the cost of living? What is the zip code situation? Because zip codes can be confusing. What are their taxes? What surrounding cities are there with potential opportunities? How much would a flight cost to and from home to visit family and friends, especially on an emergency need basis? How much will my car insurance increase? And my car insurance went from, Lord, $80 to $197. And yes, by the way, Houston has the second, I believe, deadliest highway in the US. So I fixed all that though with a change in GPS. I will take the long route, but I am avoiding tolls and highways. I had to calculate, what would be the difference in gas? Are there things to do? And I have a whole list of things to share with you to do. And it's really a lot of opportunities here. I wish I could share all of them, but I wouldn't have time, but I am gonna share a few. I am gonna put some Instagram links at the bottom so you can follow these pages as well if you're considering moving to Houston. And again, I'm new here, so I haven't done everything, but I have experienced a lot in a year. You need to consider the economy. Also, you need to consider the weather. I've only been here for a year, but the weather is dangerous. I haven't been here that long, but I've experienced the summer here. I would say seldom does it get below 50 during the winter months, but it is usually 90 plus other than that. And July and August are going to be your hottest months with 99 plus. And I experienced a heat wave last summer. So I think me and my dogs died 3 or 4 times. Mostly I stay in the house. I don't even think I've turned my air off this year at all. So of course my electricity bill went up as well. And consider the economy. It is the most racially, ethnically diverse metro cities. It falls right underneath New York City. It's very much like a melting pot. There are all different races here. I was actually surprised to see the amount of Black businesses here, which really motivated me to try Houston and see what's going on here. That was everything that I did in the month of August and September. I just pretty much did my background research. I wanted to look for schools. How many school districts are there? Are they public schools, Title I schools? Are they schools on the outskirts? I prefer to teach Title I just because I believe those kids are who I am and we come from the same area. But I also know that living in a Title I area probably isn't something I would like either. So I had to do my research on how far it would take me to get to work and how far away from work that I need to live to be in a very nice area. And I moved to the Galleria area and my job is in Southwest Houston, which they're not too far from each other. So it takes me about 15-20 minutes to get to work, which is perfect. So in October, I decided to take on the job situation. So August and September, I did my background research. October, I was like, okay, specifically, what schools am I going to apply to? How will I transfer my license for teaching from the state of Pennsylvania and the state of North Carolina to the state of Texas? Well, luckily for me, the state of Texas has reciprocity with North Carolina, which meant that I was able to transfer my license without any exams necessary. And this is how I knew that this was God's plan, because there has not been a bump in the road since. I also had to figure out When do I apply? When's the best time to apply? I started emailing principals, my mini portfolio, which you can see here on the screen, just to get a head start on any open position. I do teach 12th grade English, and English positions aren't open that often, but I was blessed to get 5 interviews. 3 of those interviews are with my top 3 choices, and yes, by the grace of God, I did get my first choice. It has to be God. I mean, everything at the point worked out perfectly. And I also had to figure out my living, and I did this in the month of November. I was like, okay, how much can I afford for rent? And a weird part of me wanted to try a studio, so I ended up trying a studio, which I won't do again because I have dogs and I would like to shut the door on them sometimes. I found a really good apartment in the Galleria area, and you can see my studio apartment tour in my other video on YouTube if you want to check it out. Once you look at that video, I do want to mention that my rent is $11.50 and that it's 700 square feet, and it is in the Galleria area if that's something you were interested in. I did relocate during COVID, so I was given a virtual tour, so I was completely trusting God throughout this process. My virtual tour, I didn't get to see my apartment before I moved in it other than a virtual tour. And believe me, there are a lot of things that don't appear on virtual tours because, of course, they're not going to show you the bad things. They want you to move in. I'm very pleased with my apartment, but the area it is in is near Westheimer Road, which is a very populated, loud area. So if you're looking for peace, Westheimer Road is not the road for you. I figured all that out, and then in December, I was like, okay, time to look for furniture. I am very on point with things. I'm very organized. I'm always prepared. I think it's the teacher in me. But I had all my furniture picked out before I moved. I had it all in my carts on the websites. I shopped at Target, IKEA, Wayfair, World Market, Walmart, of course, Goodwill, anything you could think of, I shopped there. I pretty much went ahead and had those carts prepared for me to pay, and I had it set up as to where my furniture would arrive about 3 days after I arrived in Houston, Texas. So I had everything paid for, ready to go. I mean, if you look at the pictures, down to the decor, down to the wallpaper, down to the colors, down to the curtains, I had all those options already picked out. So even the things that weren't able to be delivered, when I went to pick them up, I had already had them ready for pickup at the store, and I just had to pick up my bags and go. So did a lot of measuring, a lot of contemplating on this versus that, and it was successful. I am in love. I did not place my orders for my furniture until May. So I couldn't order really far in advance, but I placed them in May, and things were delivered abruptly. Like, I was actually surprised, and I was like, again, this is God. So in January, I was like, okay, it's getting closer, I'm getting nervous. It's time to figure out transportation. Transportation is important, you know, whether you're gonna fly there to your new location, whether you're gonna drive, whether you're gonna take a U-Haul. Well, I didn't need a U-Haul, I didn't have a lot. And the reason I sold everything before moving to Texas is because a U-Haul was about $1,200 to get here. And I didn't have anything worth paying that much for to transfer down to Texas or transport to Texas. So I did get all new furniture. And so I decided to drive, which cost me about $310 and a 27-hour road trip. Yes, my friends drove me down here. We had 2 cars. We drove from Pennsylvania, and let me tell you, there are a lot of bridges along the way. The South has crazy looking highways. We made many stops. We rode through many landmarks. We were able to ride past Selma. It was a good experience. So if you don't have some good friends like I have, then you need to rethink your friends. I mean, they even came and put together all of my furniture that I had when it arrived. Even my grocery list, like guys, I had a grocery list written down before I arrived to Houston. And 2 of my friends were like, we're going to Walmart. They took the grocery list. They got all of the groceries. All I did was cash at them. I mean, they were significant in the moving process. And so you can see the pictures. They put everything together and they were quite amazing. So you don't have you some good friends to help you relocate, get rid of the ones you got because they are no good, sis. I want to mention that it was such a long drive that my car battery died when I moved to Houston, and I have a foreign battery, so it cost me about $600 for a new car battery, but it was still cheaper than flying and getting a U-Haul. You might think, oh, well, flying should have been cheaper. Well, I have dogs as well. So if you're flying your dogs, it is $150 per way per carrier. So I had 2 small dogs. I can fit 2 dogs in 1 carrier, but I also, there are some limitations as to the breed that they like you to fly. And I have a Shih Tzu whose nose is kind of further pushed back, and he already has breathing issues. So a plane is probably not the best idea for him. Not only did you need to have your flight tickets for your dogs, you had to have a 30-day flying health certificate, an airline approved dog bag or dog carrier. So it was a lot easier for me just to drive. So in February, I was like, it's getting close. February, I was like, it's time to pay anything that I can pay and get it out of the way. So I kind of made all my deposits. I called and set up for my electricity, my water, my internet, my cable, and I paid my deposit and first month's rent for the studio that I was moving into so that I could have everything together. I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for the job that I was applying to. I had made sure that my license came through. I made sure that I did my fingerprints, my background checks, and just pretty much my clearances to teach. So make sure you're checking for all the things that your job needs or wants, especially if you're a teacher, which is specifically my field. And then in March, I secured those interviews that I was telling you about. And in March, I actually selected the job. April, I was offered, I believe it was April 1st, I was offered the job of my choice. I got hired for the highest paying district in Houston, Texas. And I'm not ashamed. My salary went from $49,000 to $62,000. So Texas is where it's at. Oh, the extra income has allowed me to do a lot of things. I've been able to invest in stocks, and I've been able to live a little, spend some money on myself, do some things for my family. Also able to have a peace of mind, and nothing is like having a peace of mind. It's priceless. But I did put a price on it. Moved to Houston, girl, got that check. It is June. We arrived in Houston. The ride was long. We pull up and we see these highways. Good Lord bless me. I was so nervous. I don't get on the highway here, Jesus. But it was beautiful, and I couldn't have felt more blessed and more thankful at that time to be starting a job that I was interested in, to be moving into a studio, into this new city. Compared to where I come from, there's so much more opportunity here for Black people, and it's a lot of positive energy in here. I just couldn't believe that God came through the way that He did. I've had some tough times in life, but let me tell you, sis, when I prayed for that sign, I got that sign. When I cleared my mind, God gave me the direction and the light and the path that I was supposed to take. So I've given away the keys to my heart. I've got keys to a new apartment. I got keys to a new classroom and keys to my new car, sis. My goal this year was everything keys. But that was quick, and I know it was brief, but if you have any personal questions, I'm pretty much an open book about relocating to Houston, Texas, or just relocating in general. Anything specific or more detailed, let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that little bell so you'll get the notification anytime I have a new video. But thank you guys for watching. Check out my new video next week.